Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. My name is Nick Park and I'm taking us through a series of messages called The Great Prayers of the Old Testament. And we're looking at how the practice of prayer developed from the very beginning of creation as people of God learned how to communicate better with God. And we're praying that this will be a real help to you in your prayer journey as you go into deeper intimacy with God. And today we're at Genesis chapter 18, where we find the remarkable story of a man who bargained with God. Of course, we're talking about Abraham. God had appeared to Abraham before, and God had told him that he was going to have a son. And now God appears to Abraham with 3 men. And it's not really clear from the passage if God is one of the 3 men or if God is accompanied by the 3 men, if God has taken the form of one of those 3 or just 3 men are accompanying him. But either way, God tells Abraham that he's going to be blessed with a son in about a year's time. It's momentous news. I mean, you could understand Abraham. This was just, he'd been longing for a son for years and years. He'd been praying for a son, and now he knows his prayer is going to be answered. And then, just as they're leaving, God tells Abraham what he's got in mind for Sodom and Gomorrah, that because of the great wickedness of those cities, he is going to destroy them. Now, Abraham could so easily have just shrugged his shoulders in acceptance. After all, he's not one of the wicked people in Sodom or Gomorrah. He's following a very different track, following God. He's just had this great news that he's going to have the son that he's been longing for. So it would be understandable if Abraham said, "Oh, that's a great pity," but he didn't. He begins to plead with God. And he says, "Lord, what if there are 50 righteous people living in Sodom? Would you destroy a city for those 50 people along with the evil ones as well?" God says, "No, I won't destroy Sodom if I can find 50 righteous people there." And then Abraham says, "What about 45? Could we just reduce my bid to 45? What if you can find 45 people there?" God said, "Okay, I won't destroy Sodom if I can find 45. And Abraham keeps beating God down in this in this reverse auction. Well, what if there's 40? What if there's 30? And when God agrees to that, what if there's 20? Until finally he says, "Lord, look, don't get mad at me. This is the last time I'm going to do this. But what if there's only 10? And God says, "Okay, I will not destroy Sodom, even if I can only find 10 righteous people." Now, as we know, Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed because there wasn't even 10 righteous people in Sodom. Does that mean that Abraham's prayer was wasted? Does that mean that he didn't get any response and any mercy applied to Sodom because of his prayers? No, it doesn't mean that, because what God did do was send angels into Sodom even for the sake of 10 people, because there weren't 10 righteous people, but actually for 6 people. And that was Lot and his wife and Lot's 2 daughters and the young men that were betrothed to marry them. Now, the 2 guys that were betrothed to marry Lot's daughters, they thought it was all a big joke and they refused to come and flee the city. And of course, Lot's wife even messed up because she was told not to look back, and she did, and it ended up with her death. And so eventually, the angels went into Sodom for the sake of 6 people, and 3 people were brought out alive. But one of those was Abraham's nephew, Lot. You know, there are times whenever we pray for something and we feel like our prayers have had no effect, and we feel like we look at the circumstances and say, well, nothing happened. You know, what my prayers were useless. They weren't answered. And yet God still has a wonderful way of actually answering our prayers. So I would encourage you to be bold. Abraham was bold. He pressed in by faith in his prayers, and God eventually saved Lot. And who's to say, would Lot have been saved if Abraham had not taken that time to plead with God about sparing Sodom if there were righteous people there? We don't actually know, but we do know this, that prayer works. And any prayer, anytime we pray to God, we're never wasting our time. I believe that God did move in response to Abraham's prayers, even if it wasn't quite the answer that Abraham was looking for. And so I encourage you, never feel that your prayer is a waste of time, but press in by faith and be bold in your praying and specific in your praying with God. May God bless you today. Join us again next time for another Take 5 as we continue to look at these great prayers of the Old Testament here at Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.